I want to quickly show you how to create the exact same drum groove as you did before, but using Ultrabeat. You're going to find that it's a lot quicker. I've loaded in the basic samples I used before into Ultrabeat. They're all here. Now I just have to tell them when to fire. So I'm going to go to the full view, and you can see I've already done the hi-hat. The kick drum I'm going to place on every beat, first beat, and the snare drum we were going to do on 2 and 4, and I just have to click on 2 and 4, then test it. And it works fine. So now I have basically my Ultrabeat has done the groove for me, and I'm going to actually take that pattern and I'm going to drag that pattern into my Midi track. Now my Midi track is ready to roll here, and I can just turn off the sequencer. And now I have the Midi track, and I can test that to see what that sounds like. Still works fine. Now, I don't have much control over the individual sounds inside that Midi track, so I want to separate these out. And this is a kind of an interesting feature. If I have the Ultrabeat track highlighted, I can go to Midi, I go separate Midi events by pitch. And now I've separated them all out. So I have on the top my kick drum. The next one, I believe, is the snare. This one was the hi-hat. Retype the kick drum. There we go. Now, I have those all labeled correctly. And this top track is now empty, so I really actually don't need it, and I can delete it. If I press solo, you'll notice how they're all still attached. So if I change one, it's going to change it all. So I need to change the outputs on the Ultrabeat so that I can have each one go out its own channel. To do that, click on Ultrabeat and select Multi-Output. When you do that, it allows you to go into the Ultrabeat and go to where it says main. This is where it's your outputs. And I can select where I want these to go. I can go 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now they all have their own outputs. In order to map them correctly, I need to open up the mixer. And I'll go back to that Ultrabeat track, and I need to add those tracks. There's a little plus sign that's there. And when I click on that plus sign, I'm able to add tracks as needed. Right now you're not seeing them, so I'll slide that over a little bit and add another one. So basically have 3, 4, 5, 6, and the last one is 7, 8. Okay, I'll move this over a little bit so you can see it. If I was to play this file now, you can see how they're all coming out the 3 tracks now. I could label these, and I'd be able to have control over each one of these particular tracks. So, there we go. I'm going to mute these. Go back. I'm going to rewind this. Get myself back to the beginning. It should loop. And I press play. Right now all you hear is that nasty snare drum going on, right? And what I can do now is I can pan that snare drum hard one side. And maybe that hi-hat I need to put somewhere else. I have a choice. I can add effects to the individual tracks as needed. But most of all, I can have complete control over the sound of that drum kit now, whereas before it was all blended together. And that's a common mistake in most remix projects, is you take a loop that's already been built and you dump it in and it's all panned to the center, or you build yourself a groove and you don't pan out the parts and you don't mix them appropriately, and so it sounds unprofessional. By being able to isolate the different parts, pan them, mix them accordingly, you're going to get a much better sound. This particular drum track that it's made, I don't particularly like the sound of the samples I chose, so I'd probably go back and change those over time. But now I have complete control over that drum track, and I can mix that eventually into my previous stems that I've already loaded. So that should help a little bit.